We're back, and we're back with another What Sold. We've been gone for 3 weeks now. We've been super busy. Kendall and I have been. We both were out of town for a week for her brother's graduation of graduating University of Arkansas. And then we got back in town and then had our 1 year anniversary for our wedding. And then 2 days after that, it was my birthday. And then now the weather here is beautiful in Texas. So I've been playing a lot of golf. Really have had YouTube on the back burner for the past few weeks. And also we got behind heavily on eBay from being out of town and just being busy. So we are playing catch up now. And so just haven't had honestly a whole lot of time to produce a video or do anything. But we are back today with a What Sold video, like I said, doing the usual style without the financials though this time. I pulled 20 solds from sales from 3 weeks ago. So I think 3 weeks ago, like that time block of 7 days, ended up doing around 6,000 to 7,000 in sales. So I pulled 20 items from there. As usual, the higher dollar stuff, the bolos to be on the lookout for the most amount of profits that you can find in a thrift store. And we should be back to posting videos once a week at least from here until probably for the next 4 weeks. And then we're going out of town to Tennessee for 7 days. And then whenever we get back in town, we have 3 more weeks of doing more YouTube and work. And then we're going to Alaska for 10 days for one of the cruise ships that they go out over there, leave Seattle and then goes to Alaska to a bunch of towns, and then we'll be back. And then we'll be back for good for a while. So, and then we'll be really going hard on YouTube, going hard on eBay, and just having fun. So let's dive into this What Sold video. Going to show you guys again 20 things that sold and just blow and go and try to make this a short video for you guys. So let's roll. All right, to start us off, we had a great sale price. We had a woman's pair of Lucchese boots. If you're a usual watcher of the channel, we usually actually find these and sell them all the time around here in Dallas. I think a lot of the times resellers don't want to pay up for these, which we have no problem doing. So these, I think, were $50 at the thrift store. They were listed at 100, and then I just waited for them to go half off. Bought them at 50 once they did go half off, and they ended up selling for the full price of $180 plus shipping. So again, if you're new here, the usual people know this, but I will be saying the price that these things sold for without the shipping included in that price and the sales tax and all that stuff, just the listed price. And if it sold for best offer, I will tell you the amount that it sold for at best offer. But yeah, Lucchese, great brand of boots. They typically on the higher side for how common you can actually find them in a thrift store or just anywhere. There are obviously some boots like Ralph Lauren Western boots that sell for $400, but it's very rare to find them. These we find at least once a month and can flip them for a good amount of money, even though they are priced up typically around that $40 to $50 mark in the thrift stores. Just be careful though, there are a select few models that do not do well in sizes, as in you can't really make a whole lot of money spending $50, but for the most part, our average sale price on Lucchese boots is around that $125 mark. So don't go out and buy them for $80 and then sell them for $125, but if you end up finding them for $30 and you can sell for $100, obviously that is an amazing flip to find. Next, this buyer ended up buying 2 ties, which we have a deal on our ties where they buy one, get one half off. And then this is the only category in our store that is free shipping. So the amount that I'm about to tell you that they paid is the amount that they actually paid, and it was free shipping, included in that price. So they ended up spending $111, not including sales tax and stuff, for these 2 ties. The first one being a Catan tie, I believe that is how you pronounce it. So this price is basically irrelevant. Knock 25% off of this price for each of these, 68 minus 25% and 76 minus 76%, because they got the buy one get one half off deal. It's roughly about that amount, but they ended up paying $111 for both of these ties. Great tie, Catan, great brand in general. Typically everything that they make in the clothing category as well sells super well. And then Brioni is another one that is super good to sell for ties, but also in every other category. The logo for Brioni and Catan is the same for across their clothing pieces, and again, just an incredible brand to sell across the entire board of clothing and ties. Next, we've got, I don't know how to pronounce this one, it's Villebrequin or something like that, but this is a 100% linen long sleeve button up shirt, and it was just, sorry, I was going blank there for a second. Great brand across the board, every category this brand typically sells very well. We usually rarely find this. This is honestly one of those brands that you come across maybe once or twice a year. At least that's in our case what happens. I don't know. I don't know if everyone knows about this brand. I don't think I think probably a good chunk of resellers know about it, but for the most part, it's just rare in general. There's not a whole lot listed on eBay, and there's not it does have a 100% sell-through rate, but there's just not a lot listed on eBay. It's a very low supply in the market for finding it, but it is definitely one to be on the lookout for. This ended up selling for the full ask price of $50. I think it sold within 2 or 3 weeks. I probably listed this on the lower side, maybe not. I can't remember. It listed this about a month ago, but this did sell international as well. So it is an overseas brand, I believe. So a lot of people overseas like to buy it. From my understanding, I think every single one of these I've listed in the past has sold internationally, but in general, it does sell in the US as well very well. Next, we've got a Hallow Bros vest. This actually sat for quite a while, I think like 2 or 3 months, but I also listed it on the high side because of how nice it was. So Hallow Bros, great brand. This vest, I think Kendall ended up finding this for $10, and it sold again in about 3 months, and it sold for the full ask price of $77. So Hallow Bros, we usually find it in their button-up section, like the short sleeve button-up section or the long sleeve flannels. This is the first winter apparel item that we have found. Again, we are in Dallas, Texas, so winter apparel here, hard to come by. I know up north, you can find a ton of winter stuff whenever it comes to Patagonia, Arc'teryx, Hallow Bros, all that stuff. But down here, it's pretty rare to find winter stuff that's pretty decent to sell whenever it comes to these name brands things. So glad we found this one. Super cool item. Again, ended up selling for $77. Hallow Bros, seems like every category that we find it in, we buy it and sell it, and it sells well. But do your research. Just because I say something sells well on here, definitely do your research and look up some different categories and things that sell well on the brand, as every single category changes for the brand. So just because I say something's good doesn't mean go out and buy it. Do your research before you buy it and make sure it's a good flip. Next, we've got a new brand to us. I have no clue how to say this one. Kendall found this. It was Anine Bing, I believe is how you pronounce it. But they make this certain sweater, or this, whatever this is, crew neck pullover. And the sell-through rate on it was actually really good, and the sale price is very high. So she picked it up because she thought she was going to get it for herself because she liked the look of it and the feel of it. It was really soft. And then she looked it up because she's like, oh, this is pretty high quality, and it ended up doing really well on the sales. So she just bought it to sell, and it sold in, I believe, less than a month for the $71.99, the full ask price. So really good sale. Cannot complain about that. Now you're going to be on the lookout for it. This actually, I believe there's quite a bit of these listed and sold. So glad to find this brand. Definitely going to keep it in our memory and be on the lookout for it in the future. Next, we've got Free Ride equestrian pants. I threw these in there in a most recent What's Up video as well. I think the last one from 3 weeks ago, but it was a different pair, obviously, that sold. These, I threw them in there in the last one. I'm going to throw them in here too as well, just to let you know that equestrian wear sells typically very well. So if you ever find riding pants, if you find riding boots, equestrian boots, which typically go up to about the knee or over the knee, I believe, all the stuff in equestrian riding gear, it all sells very well. I mean, it's just typically across the board very well to sell. So we ended up looking these up. There was only, I think, 1 or 2 sold and none listed. And so we just took a shot on them, and we found 4 or 5 pairs of these, and they all did super well. I think we have 1 left, maybe 2, and the rest of them have sold for around the $45 to $60 mark, depending on condition, because some of them were messed up. This one was not messed up whatsoever. Ended up selling for the full ask price of $58.49, and it took less than, I believe, 2 weeks to sell, so amazingly quick sell-through rate, even though there was none listed and 2 sold. So took a shot on it and glad that it paid off well. Next, we've got Good golf apparel. These are a pair of joggers. They ended up selling for best offer of $53.99. Good is a YouTube company. I've had it on this channel a few times now, but they're out of Dallas, Texas. They live about 30 minutes from me, and they make apparel, and their apparel sells very well used, and it also sells obviously very well if you find it new with tags, which we have found a few times. But we mostly find the used stuff around here. I don't know how popular it is across the US But here in Dallas, obviously it's going to be here and there because these guys are out of Dallas and there's a lot of locals who are fans of them. But it is probably one of the biggest golf channels, if not the biggest one. So there's probably quite a bit of clothing pieces out there to find. I know of some viewers who have said that they have found their clothing pieces in thrift stores. So it's definitely out there, but definitely one that you only come across a few times a year, if you do even come across it. But keep it in mind, good. They make mostly polos, and then they make shorts, joggers, just about everything, hats. But typically you will find the polos if you find anything of theirs, because that is the main thing that they sell the most of. Next, we got just a generic pair of Travis Matthew pants. These ended up selling for $31.49, so the full listed price. It looks like we had a sale running this week. I've seen a few of these sales now running at this % off, so definitely ended up selling these on the higher side for Travis Matthew pants. I'm unsure exactly why. Kendall's one that listed these, so I typically list these at $30. It looks like she listed them at $35, and they still sold for $31.49. So Travis Matthew pants, we usually get around $20 to $34. They typically do not sell for this much, so just be careful. But again, we typically get around $20 to $30, so we usually will pay around $5, $6, sometimes $8 if they're in perfect condition, and they sell pretty decently year round. So next, we've got a Lululemon Q-Zip. Nothing special here, just a men's Q-Zip. Not going to say much here. Everyone knows Lululemon. Sold for $43.99, so the full ask price. New tags Patagonia, the baggies line, 7-inch inseam. Ended up finding these. I think Kendall found these at Goodwill or another store around here. I don't know. It's been so long now. They took a month to sell, less than a month to sell, and they sold for a best offer of $44.99. Patagonia stuff, obviously, look it up. There's style codes typically on these care tags behind here, or where the material tag is. Sorry, yeah, behind this tag, this little guy here, there's typically style codes, so look up the styles, make sure that the sell-through rate and the prices are good. I never buy Brooks Brothers, but I took a shot on this one because it was cable knit. As in took a shot, I looked up comps and they were really good. So ended up buying it for $10 and it ended up selling for a best offer of $42.74. This item did not sit long. It sat for a month and a couple weeks. Even though we are in summer, it still sold well. So yeah, I don't even know what flaw these are. They're just little tiny things that will probably come out with some water. Or sorry, not water, with some little effort of scrubbing. So yeah, Brooks Brothers, not going to speak on the brand. I've only sold a handful of their products, but the cable knit lines of really anything Ralph Lauren, that's really why I looked it up, was because Ralph Lauren cable knit stuff does really well. And so I looked up cable knit for Brooks Brothers. It also did very well. So be on the lookout for cable knit sweaters that Brooks Brothers makes, and really any other brand that's generic and big like that. Maybe look it up. Maybe J. Crew, I don't know. But if you see cable knit, it's typically higher sell-through rate and adds a little bit of value. So just do some research if you ever find cable knit stuff. Next, we've got Levi's Silver Tab. I think not everyone, but a lot of people who watch the What Sold videos, not only mine, but other people's, Caleb Sells and those guys, Big Yumbo, the Silver Tab Levi's do very well. Still to this day, no matter what, the baggy ones do even better. This was not baggy. This was just a relaxed fit, style, straight leg, whatever jean. These ended up selling for the full ask price of $39.71, and they took probably, let me see the SKU. These took like 2 months to sell, so not too bad. The baggy ones, again, go really quickly off the shelves, like within a month, and they sell for $50, $60. All right, so this is an interesting item. And it's interesting because of the backstory of why I listed this so high. I listed this actually a year ago, and I ran across this guy's store. I'm going to take a minute to talk about this because I find it super interesting. Actually, I listed this 7-8 months ago. But I found this store on eBay by accident, and this guy's selling Tommy Bahamas used that it looked like this, like just generic Tommy Bahamas, Peter Millar's, just your name brand stuff that we typically as resellers get $20 to $30 for. But this dude, for some reason, is selling. He's got a 20% sell-through rate in his store, and he's probably sold 600 things in the past 90 days. But he's selling Tommy Bahamas and Peter Millar polos at like $70, $80 that are used in perfect condition but used. He doesn't label them new without tags or anything. He literally labels them used. Takes really high quality photos and lists them on the high side, and he sells them often. So I was like, either this guy's money laundering or he's doing something that somehow works, because he's got the reviews, he's got everything, he's getting the sales. So I listed this item on the high side, I think where he was at like $68, but I decreased price over time and he does not. And so this has been decreased over time. And then I forgot about listing this item that high, and I got an offer for $40 for it. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to take that, because even if I listed this at $40 today, I don't think I could get it. You know, I typically would list an item like this at $30 today and hope that I get an offer or it sells within the first month at that price. But typically the reality is that it sells for $25. So I got an offer for $40, took the offer, but I was just surprised that it even sold for $40. And I really still don't understand to this day how that guy is getting $78 for shirts that are listed like this. So if you have any insight and you've seen that store comping out Tommy Bahama's and Peter Millar's, let me know your opinions in the comment section. If you go to any used section for Tommy Bahama and Peter Millar, he is the highest sold comps for used polos and button downs and stuff like that. And there's a lot of them too. So doesn't make any sense to me, but I priced him today. Normally I don't try to do what he does. I just wanted to see what would happen. Next, we've got a Vineyard Vines Performance quarter zip 2XL. So Kendall found this. We're starting to buy a little bit more Vineyard Vines stuff. It seems like their performance style labeled stuff does pretty well. The On The Go, the performance lines, they do pretty decently. So we are experimenting with it, and it's been going pretty well. This ended up selling for the full ask price of $38.99, and it sold, I think, within a week or two. So really good sale. And next we've got a Tommy Bahama new with tags polo, probably a Goodwill find. If not, we probably paid up to like $12 for this at another thrift store. So in between the 8 to 12 mark for buying it, and it ended up selling for the list price of $40.49. I had really good comps on this item. The $40 mark was on the lower side. It went from 40 to 50 roughly. And yeah, so Tommy Bahama, new with tags. I usually pull the trigger on it as long as it's perfect condition and as long as it's not a weird item. So definitely look up the model names and stuff. This Miramar Blooms Polo was the model name. Next, we've got James Purse, a brand that some people know and some people don't. But James Purse is a pair of women's, I think it's linen pants. So really cool item. Brand does super well typically, and this ended up selling for best offer of $40. So little pinhole from the Goodwill tag there, as usual with Goodwill. But yeah, James Purse, again, really good brand. Just make sure you're comping out what you got in your hands, because some things sell for $19 and some sell for $60 with this brand. So next we've got a current tagged Xenia. So a pair of pants, listed these, they sold in like 2 weeks, listed them at $44.99, and they sold during the sale for $40.49. Honestly, pretty quick sale compared to what I was expecting. The sell-through rate on this was a little lower, and I did not price it on the lower side for what I was seeing. And so really happy that they sold. Everyone knows, I think, this brand, it's sort of dying off now, but we buy a lot of the current tag stuff. So these black tagged current styles do seem to do very well. I just shipped out a blazer today that was this current style tag, and I think that thing sold for like $172. So really good if you find the current tags typically. Next, we've got a pair of, I believe, women's. Is this women's? No, it's men's. Pair of men's joggers. I've never found joggers that were cool branded. So these ended up selling for $37.99. And yeah, cool, great brand. We still sell it. A lot of their pants nowadays, we don't buy many of their shirts or anything like that. Their polos, their button downs, they seem to not do as well as they used to. But the pants we definitely are still buying, and as well as the jackets and stuff. Lastly, a brand that I was actually surprised sold for this much, but I guess it's because it's new with tags. Rod and Gun, typically a bad brand used whenever it comes to the shirts. But because this was floral and because it was new with tags and it had no flaws, we ended up picking it up. I think I paid $9 for this, and it sold within 2 weeks for the ask price of $35.99. So great week of sales before leaving on our trip. And then when we went on the trip, we got slammed with bad sales, slow sales, because of going out of town and going on vacation mode. Not a big deal though. We are back and we are getting our sales back up to where they were. Grinding back on the eBay grind that typically always is with everyone in life. And yeah, so video to come out next week for sure, and the weeks following. And catch you guys later, and best of luck thrifting the rest of the week.